but it's season 10 of the Ditch Diggers.
Ditch Diggers something.
Episode 6, I think. Sure, let's go.
If you don't know the number, just say it's a bonus episode.
Yeah.
Ditch Diggers here, and ain't no wannabes here, with some not so nice advice for your writing career. To be clear, no punches will be pulled, but the punch may be spiked. How they like before they get on the mic. To my left, we got the mighty Mur Lafferty, and if I piss her off, believe me, she'll come after me. And her co-host Ursula Vernon on the right, yeah, she's burning to recite a slime mold speech tonight. So settle in, folks, buckle in and boot up. Time to meddle in a way to make your writer shut up. It's hard work, but the perk is that it's fun and exciting. Facebook will still be there when you're done writing. Ditch Diggers! Ditch Diggers!
Anyway, coming to you live from Ditch Diggers' empty pod, waiting to be filled up of Ursula's stuff and taken across the country. It is the Ditch Diggers with Mur Lafferty and Ursula Vernon, a.k.a. T. Kingfisher.
For the record, that I have been filling that pod for weeks now, and it does not get any more full. Like, it is just sitting there at a quarter full, and nothing, it's sort of like a bag of holding, except it's a bag of how little you've accomplished.
Oh, I was going to get all excited that you found the pot of holding.
No, it's more your stuff is not leaving the house fast enough of holding.
Right. But anyway, I am excited because we have, thanks to Fire Writer in the Patreon community, we have an actual topic today that has nothing to do with people outside angry at some writer or organization for doing something stupid. We're going to be talking about editing passes, and since I just finished one, I have the fresh wounds to prove it, and fresh memories, fresh wounds, and everything. But to start off with, I just returned from World Fantasy Con, which is an interesting con. It just feels very different than any other con, and not always in a good way, but I had a lot of fun at this one. I was there to accept, for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons was there to accept for Ursula if she won the World Fantasy Award.
Spoiler, I did not.
Yeah. I think
okay.
I think I was more upset than she was, but, you know.
I mean, you had to steel yourself up to give the speech and all.
Yeah.
It's cool. No, I've been nominated once or twice. I've never won one. It's fine. I do much better in the popular awards where lots of readers vote, like the Hugos and the Dragon Awards. Once you get individual judges, I don't know. It's fine. Really, it's okay.
Yeah, good.
So I was Toastmaster at the World Fantasy Awards once, so, I win.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, but one thing I want to talk about, if you read my newsletter, you might have already read this, but I thought Ursula's known for wearing the magnificent hat, especially as there was someone in a magnificent hat who had a very popular public outburst at someone who the entire community thinks is dog poo. And, in the fact that I was accepted.
That there was a woman with a fabulous hat.
Oh, I didn't say it was you. I just said just fabulous hats and you talking about fabulous hats, and sometimes you wear fabulous hats. No one-to-one correlation, but
not at all.
You have been seen to wear them. And I remembered I had a hat a lot like yours, and I figured if I was going to be accepting for you, I'd want to wear a hat like you. That was what my first thought. And then I remembered that I liked wearing hats. Couldn't figure out why I stopped. I think it might have been because of a perm in the late 80s. And I had bangs. And I stopped wearing hats.
A lot of us did things in the late 80s that we're not proud of.
I know. But it's like, I put the hat on, and then strangers were complimenting me on the hat. And then this is one of those things where one of them doesn't seem notable, but just hear me out. I went to go pick up our rental car, and the guy just gave me an upgrade. Just, didn't even ask, didn't say I'd won the lottery, just like, yeah, you're here for an economy, but we're going to upgrade you to a midsize. Okay, cool. And I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. And then we got to the hotel for the con, and I'm checking in, and the woman's like, yeah, we're gonna upgrade you and put you on the 6th floor. That's the one you need the key for, the special one. And we're gonna waive your parking. And I'm like, what is going on? And then just more and more people complimented the hat or complimented my hair, which, to be fair, I don't like my hair and I often keep it up, but I had it down for the hat.
Yes.
And for some reason, washed out blue hair dye that's getting kind of sickly green looks good and purposeful if your hair is down and you have a hat on. Who knew?
Hats are magic.
They are. And so I'm thinking, like, was it the hat? Was it the fact that I just had that a new hat confidence? Was it just me? Wasn't the hat itself? It was the feather clutched in my little trunk kind of thing. But what do you think? You are the wearer of the hats. Where do you stand on this? Or is just hat confidence your 100% existence?
Well, I used to feel a little self-conscious about wearing the hat because, look, the one I usually wear is the Indiana Jones hat, which looks a little bit like a cowboy hat, and people have called it that. And every now and again, I will get compliments on it. Like, I remember a woman at a drive-thru who looked at it and said, "You are wearing that hat." And I'm like, thank you. And I mean, it's like, nobody around here wears hats like this, so it is definitely a weird thing I am doing that stands out, and I am occasionally self-conscious about that. But also, so I wore it a lot at cons because it was the sort of, I am T. Kingfisher if I have the hat on, and I am Ursula Vernon if I am wearing the chunky art teacher necklace. As like my self-hypnosis for not swearing in front of children when I'm having to do the pen name separation.
Okay, get that heavy albatross around your neck, and then you're always remembering not to swear around the children.
Yes. And then I would get to the airport, I would take the chunky necklace off, and I would say fuck. And a few times usually, and go to the bar. Sometimes I would put the hat on. And then after I got chemo and all of my hair fell out, I was like, well, first of all, at cons, I would just always wear the hat. It became like the thing. I am the person with the hat. And then I was just like, I am going to wear a hat because, well, for a long time I was wearing the buff, but once enough grew back as like a buffer to the hat, my hair just came in dreadful. And so I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna wear the hat over it, and then I don't have to worry how it looks. And so, yeah, it went from like, the thing I wore at cons to the I just wear the damn hat all the time. And I like hats. I like that particular style of hat. I am used to how I look in it. But I think it's jarring a little when you see yourself and you're not used to wearing a hat. You look in the mirror and you're like, whoa, I look like a doofus, or whoa, that stands out, or just that is not me.
Yeah.
And it takes a while. My other problem is that I have face blindness, and there was one event, I think it was actually the Hugos in like Helsinki, where the ceremony was not the last day. It was like Friday night or something, or Saturday night, which was great. And I wore the hat and accepted, gave the speech about whalefall and all. And then the next day I didn't have the hat on. But people kept coming up and complimenting my speech, and I'm going, how can you recognize me? I don't have the hat on. Because I have apparently internalized the thing from Marvel movies where all you need for a disguise is to pull your hair back and put on a baseball cap. So,
right.
Yeah. I got nothing. But yes, hats. I like them.
Yes.
More people should wear hats.
I think so. I'm, remembering that I'm more comfortable in hats, and considering I don't like the way I look a lot of the time, anything that make me feel comfortable in my own skin is pretty good.
And there's a certain amount of people are going to be looking at the hat and not at me. So,
That's true.
it is armor.
That's
Gaze
true.
upon my hat.
It's like Gail Carriger's, fancy dresses and wigs and stuff. That's her con armor.
Yep.
Anyway, we do have a little bit off topic. Wire Duck, hello Wire Duck, would like to say sorry. Wire Duck would like to say rejection tally. 4 more rejections. Congratulations. We cheer for rejections around here because rejections mean you are a working writer. Hey, IntelliGame for the subscription. Thank you. Good to see you. Everybody should follow IntelliGame. I know you're taking a hiatus from streaming, but if you follow him now, then maybe when he gets back up to streaming, you won't have to worry about it. You'll get the notification and you'll follow his very intelligent things he says about games. Real quick, going back to chat, we got Underpope's here, Kay Kimmy is here, Space Valkyries, love a good funky hair color, to be honest, also hi. And yes, tomorrow, Space Valkyries story comes out in the Best American Fantasy and Science Fiction. That's published tomorrow. Go get your copies.
Go Space Valkyrie! That is fantastic.
Yes. And Foreigner's here. Wire Duck's here. Congratulations on the rejections. That was all from Wire Duck. Yes, okay, we are caught up. So, World Fantasy Con was fun. I actually did a lot of family stuff, so I didn't spend a lot of time at the con, but I did have some social information. People would be excited to hear I sat down with my ex-agent, Jen Udden, and we had a good interview. A lot of fun. I was going to put it on I Should Be Writing, but it's got a lot of swearing, so I'm either going to have to bleep it or just put it on Ditch Diggers if Ursula doesn't mind.
Oh, so, like I'm gonna mind.
Yeah. Well, it's still polite to say, but
yeah, fair.
I can't remember if I've said this on Ditch Diggers or not. I apologize if I have, but I did finally get Infinite Archive turned in and accepted as final draft. I even got the final draft payment that I've been waiting on for like over a year. So that was nice. And now I'm able to clear my brain and start working on a new book. So that's exciting. Ursula, I'm just going to ask you, I know what the answer is, and I'm sorry, but, we talk about the writer's life here. So how has your writing been going lately?
Well, I haven't been doing much of it because of the moving, but I've actually been in like edits and proofread hell because one of my book Sword Heart, Tor licensed it or bought it. I mean, it had been out self-published for years, and they want to do it for their big new fantasy romance line, which is great. But that means I have to proofread it, and they send a copy editor back through it. And then we had also licensed foreign rights on a couple of the Paladin books, so I have to go back through all of those with the copy edits that they run through. And you never know with a copy editor, like 99% of the time they are wonderful and nearly invisible, and they sprinkle magic copy editor dust, and the manuscript is better, and they go away, and you do not embarrass yourself in front of the readers. And then every now and again, you get the one who thinks they've been hired as a structural editor or is a writer, and they get in and start changing a lot of things, and then it takes you it's the difference between like an hour to go through the copy edits and 3 days to go through fixing all of the things that they have done. And I had one of those on 4 books, on the 4-book series.
Whoa.
And that was a nightmarish hellscape. So it's been a lot of editing, and a lot of the stuff that is important to do in a writing career, particularly when you're, solidly established in the mid-list, but that is not writing. It's the answer the email, and can you sign this number of book plates, and can you write a letter to this, and can you go over this last proofread run and things like that. It's so I've been doing a lot of the writing life that is not the writing, and I would rather be doing the writing.
Yeah. I've had copy editors like that, and copy editors, a good one will find your continuity errors, which is one of my biggest problems. So I'll be like all set, and then I will get didn't this person die 2 chapters ago? And I'll be like, how did no one up to you catch that? I didn't catch it. The editor didn't catch it. It's just, they are a very necessary part in the steps. But
good ones will be like, okay, actually, according to your math, it's not Thursday, it's Saturday. And
yes,
it's like, okay,
that too.
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Or things like that. Or this eye color has changed between this point and this point. You're right. So it has.
Yeah, I had that. I actually had that problem in Chaos Terminal because one person's eyes kept changing, but it was because of who was viewing it and something important regarding that. And that actually wasn't too difficult to explain. I expected more pushback, but yeah. But since we are talking about editing, we should talk about the stages. And I'll start with the first stage.
The stages of grief.
Yes, exactly. The first stage is you turn in your book and you feel that very weird feeling of, I have finished a major project and I have written 100,000 words and I am a hero because no one has ever done this before in the world and I am the best. And then you get your edit letter. And I never know why they're called edit letters. Well, I mean, I guess I do know. It just doesn't feel like a letter. Yeah.
I mean, I get letters that, are you get the multiple paragraphs of like, this is, thank you for this. This is, and they always say this is a great first draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if the edit letter is 20 pages long and is asking you to take it apart down to the foundations, this is a great first draft, or this is a solid first draft every time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's letter-like, and then, yeah.
Yeah, so oftentimes they will list in the letter the problems they have. Often it's a bullet point. If there's a major structural thing, they'll probably write that out as, I don't understand. I didn't get all of I have a problem with motives. I don't set up enough motives for all the characters, because if you don't have enough characters with motives, then it's not really a murder mystery.
Right.
So I get that. And then, so we go through and start fixing. Is there any process that you have, Ursula?
Well, I have a very, very formalized process, which is I get the edit letter, and I read it, and I think this editor has no idea what they're talking about. This is completely wrong. Obviously, the motives are clear, and they're asking me to dumb it down, or no, I explained that already, or, this is just not at all the right direction to go. And then I put the letter away and stew for about 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I open it up again, and I'm like, okay, I guess I could make this particular change. And then I wind up doing everything that's in the edit letter, like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
I think I've only had like 1 or 2 cases where I have been like, no, this is wrong. And that editor and I were increasingly not a good fit. But for the most part, you get through the initial stage of how dare you, and then you start work, and yeah, okay, it makes sense. And usually the manuscript that I get back, I get both the edit letter and then the line edits, essentially, where usually at the same time, where you have a Word doc and the editor has gone through and left comments that to the effect of, can we see more of this? and sometimes it's down to very granular line edits at that point, like this sentence doesn't flow, or this is unclear, or can we move this up or something. Sometimes that's saved for the next draft. It really depends on the editor. But I open it up and there'll be like, a comment like, can we do this here? Can we set this up sooner? Or maybe this would be a good place to establish the thing. And I will just begin going through and doing going to the comments and making the changes. And if there are bigger structural edits, I will go and write them in. And you have to have track changes on so that the editor knows you've done the thing, usually. So large chunks of your manuscript will turn blue. And
I did not do that because there was so much I had to cut out and then add that I didn't I rewrote it in Scrivener and then put it in Word or something. I don't know. I did not track all the changes until like my second to last draft. And she didn't complain, which is good. From the chat, the kids are asleep. Valerie Valdez, excellent writer, says, I explained that already is the worst. I have a friend whose entire job it is to remind me that you have to repeat stuff for the people in the cheap seats. And she leaves track changes on, but changes the view to simple markup so she doesn't see the edits. Yeah, I don't have that much Microsoft Word skill, unfortunately.
It's just one button. I can show you sometime. But you
do realize how many menus Word has.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Go on.
But yeah, I do everything in Word because it's going to end up in Word anyway. And Scrivener I have found useful for laying out anthologies mostly.
Okay.
But because then I can like move whole, like I just do each like chapter thing as a short story, and then I can just move them around much more easily in Scrivener. Trying to do that in Word would be like trying to saw off your own leg with a spork, but for the most part, stuff gets done in Word. God damn it, dog, again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will go through on the line edits and change the things and do the things, and yes, foreshadow the thing. And I never know where to go because I get annoyed when I read a book that I feel is harping on something like that. And like, that's one of my big pet peeves is I read a book and I'm like, okay, yes, we have gotten the character motivation. Okay, yes, you have expressed your feelings about this 4 times now. And it really depends on, I guess, genre and your editor and all kinds of things. But yeah. I don't know if there's more of a trend recently towards over-explaining things or what. But anyway, I go through, I do that. I send back the edited manuscript. They send it back saying, this is working much better now. It doesn't matter whether it is or not. That's what the edit letter says. And either I think we can go to the final draft, or can we change this, this, and this? And if it's change this and this, it's just rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
Final draft is basically another round of line edits like that.
Yeah.
And only very granular, sometimes down to this paragraph just doesn't feel like the voice feels off, or this is weirdly mean for this character to say, or something like that. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. Sometimes I'll be like, no, I want to keep it. And sometimes, I'm like, yeah, sure, I don't feel strongly about it.
Yeah.
Usually by the time we get to the third round, I don't feel strongly about any of it. I am just like, I want this all to be done. I have been worn down. I have gotten better at edits, and I hate them less now, but they are still not a deeply thrilling part of the process for me. I have interviewed at least one person who said editing was their favorite part of writing, and they were an alien, and I told them so.
Mm-hmm.
I was, or rather, I just accused them, like in Invasion of the Body Snatchers with the pointed finger and the.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I think it's I also feel the same way. Creating the first draft is so much fun for me, and then editing is like going in and saying, well, I did this wrong, and I know it's not supposed to be the way, and editing makes it better, but that's how I feel, which is I did this wrong, and I have to redo it. I
apologize for the thumping noises. Hobbs decided to walk on my keyboard, and now I think I'm in the source inspector in Firefox somehow.
Okay. Well, I can still hear you, so you're still here.
Good, that's the important thing.
Yes. Yeah, with mystery writing, it's hard because a simple comment of, I don't understand this character's motivation sounds like one sentence, and it could absolutely 100% rewrite the entire mystery part of it. Now, my books are science fiction murder mysteries, so there's like always a bigger adventure going on with the main characters, and then the guest stars of the week are the ones dealing with the murder mystery, or rather committing the murder and being suspects, and the main character has to deal with a variety of things in addition to solving the murder. So I remember Paolo Bacigalupi said that he had to do an edit of The Wind-Up Girl that basically felt like cutting someone open, pulling out all the guts, removing one organ, and then putting all the guts back in perfectly, and then sewing it up again, which, it tied for the Hugos, so I guess it worked, whatever he did, but I find it similarly difficult because of the ripple effect. So you've got, when you change something, you don't just change something. You have to remember that you might be referencing it, and you may not reference it using words that are easy keywords to find. For example, in my latest book, I had one of the motives was the assistant had been sexually harassed by the boss, and I didn't quite, I didn't want to I wanted it to be one of those more awkward things that otherwise he's a good dude, and did that really happen, and all that kind of awkwardness, and I didn't pull it off. And so I found a different motive for her, which is fine. But then there are comments like, oh, you know what happened last Christmas, like that in the text.
Oh, yeah.
And luckily my editor caught it, and I'm hoping if there are any more, the copy editor will then catch it, because I've still got line edits to go. But there are little things like that, and it's really hard to know what keywords to search for when you're changing things.
I usually just wind up rereading the whole book in the process.
Yeah.
Like, I just start at the beginning and I'm skimming through, and unless there are so few line edits, and that never happens, so I just start at the beginning and wind up rereading it.
My problem with that is if I do that, I will find changes I want to make on every single sentence. I'll just think I could do this a little bit better. And there are frequently things that like on the second pass they'll be like, I meant to do this thing, let me go and rewrite that a little, or let me clean up this sentence. So I do a fair amount of that, but I don't do it on every sentence. It's usually just, I wind up adding a few paragraphs. The last book I handed in, I was like, I actually needed to add a whole scene, but that's unusual that I will be like, no, there needs to be an entire scene here. Yeah.
Mostly, but yeah, I'll go through and be like, oh yeah, I thought I put that in, but I didn't, so let me put that in now. Yeah. And also, I will say this varies a lot by editor. Like the self-pub editor I have, who handles my Paladin books, very different. I usually don't get like a full edit letter as such. She goes straight to, I'll get like a paragraph that says, what we need is more of this. Also, I want to hit this character with a brick. And then the comments will be more frequent and will be things, and because we are good friends, they will be funnier. They will, whenever one of the paladins does something infuriating, she will just put a picture of a brick in a comment next to the
But
thing.
isn't that a compliment?
Oh yeah, that's a great compliment.
Okay.
It's like when you're writing a horror book and the editor leaves a comment that says, "Oh fuck," like that's
Right. Okay.
that's the great compliment. And I should say, I've been remiss. All the comments are not all bad by any stretch.
That's
They're
true.
not all change
That's
this.
true.
Frequently, they're like, "This is a great line," or "This is really creepy," or "I love this bit," or "This breaks my heart," or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And my very cynical self-pub friend, it will be things like, "This is the sentence everyone's going to highlight on their Kindle."
Yeah. Oh, crap. I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something. It's very wise and very insightful. I think one of the hardest parts...
Writers live for those happy comments.
Yes, exactly. I think one of the things we all struggle with when there are hints to be laid out is because we know what we're hinting at, we think it's more obvious. And it's not. But I do have to say, I'm not going to say who it is. I might ask Ursula off camera or off the stream what she thinks. But there's a book that I read where I figured out something that was not specifically laid out until near the end of the book. And I kept thinking, is that supposed to be a big reveal? Because that's been obvious since the second chapter, but no one has said anything. And I'll just be honest, guys. I'm a very literal person. I'm not proud of it, but I am. And so figuring something out at the second chapter is usually not something that I'm good at. So I really had this feeling of, was that supposed to be a big reveal? Because it did not work that way.
See, I would have read half the book going, is that a red herring and they're being clever, or was that just blatantly obvious?
Well, I was thinking, like, since it was so obvious to me, maybe they were trying to lead me off in another direction. But no, they just went straight one direction to the end and reveal. So I don't know. It's
with mysteries, it's hard because you have to put so many red herrings in.
Yeah.
Because otherwise anything you provide any level of detail about, people are like, that's it right there. That scene that didn't seem to mean anything has to be the key to the whole thing. So you have to put in a lot of like meaningless stuff, which normally an editor would want you to cut because it's meaningless. And so it is a horrible balancing act, and why I generally don't write mysteries.
Yeah, there's a scene in Evil Under the Sun by Agatha Christie where a woman dies, and, as they usually do in Agatha Christie books, they look at the body if it's not been shot or stabbed, and they think, could a woman have done this? Does a woman have the strength to do whatever happened, to bludgeon or choke or whatever? And it's put up, well, yeah, she'd have to be, strong or have big hands. And then in a completely, like many other chapters far away, it says her stepdaughter has large hands. And I'm like, it's her, it's her, it's her. And that was a red herring.
Yep.
Damn it, Agatha Christie.
The one that when you watch murder mysteries on TV, which is a much tighter format to work with, and I do not envy the writers, but usually you're just like, okay, if there is a big star I know from somewhere else, they are, of course, the killer.
Yeah.
And the guy who plays Father Brown showed up on Midsummer Mysteries, and I'm like, he did it. He didn't do it. They faked me out, and I'm still mad about it.
That was a funny one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just waiting for... No, he was just some dude at the trailer park. Mm-hmm. God damn it.
It was glamping. It was like the opposite of a trailer park.
Right, but yeah.
I'm just saying. Her stepdaughter was Ronda Rousey. Yes, exactly. If you guys have any questions in the chat about
Oh, did we finish talking about editing?
I don't know. I was just going to bring it up to give them some time. We also have at least two pro writers in the chat, if they want to chime in on anything. I guess here's my problem about editing, and I think this happens to me the rest of my life too. But whenever something happens and it upsets me, my first thought is no one has ever had this happen to them. I am the only one. I am the worst author. No author has delivered a draft this bad, or no author has had to do heavy rewrites well into the rewrite phase of the book, and I'm going to get dropped by my editor any time now. And
they're going to hold an intervention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Now you talk, I get to mute.
Okay. Yeah, I do not have the this has never happened to anyone else problem, happily. I don't know why. I think that, I don't know. I just assume that if it's happened to me, it has happened to tons and tons of people. But I've had rewrites that went on for eternity, and at the end of them, I finally said, "Do you have any idea what you're doing with this book?" And the editor said, "No." And then I bought the book back, and that was Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. That is a very extremely rare scenario. That will happen to most authors, never to other authors once in a lifetime. It's so rare. So don't worry about it. But for the most part, like, edits, what annoys me about edits is just that is time I am spending that is productive and important, but it is not word count. And then I feel like I'm not doing anything. And it's like, no, I have to remind myself, I did not write 5,000 words this week, but I edited 3 books or whatever, or I edited a whole ass book that also, there's also a stage in editing where I am like, I have got to start writing shorter books. But usually at like the halfway point, I'm like, great, I'm making progress. How is there still another 150 pages? Jesus Christ. Why do I write long books? Sometimes I write novellas, but then my problems are different, which are usually I am cutting individual words to try to keep it under 40,000 words. Once you have gone through the final round of everything, you send it in and they say great, and then you see it again in copy edits. And by that point, they do not expect you to be making major changes. Like, that is not the point to add whole scenes and whatnot. It's just a thing. And then you get to proofreading, and copy editing, you have to change things if, for example, they've found your chronology is wrong and it should be Thursday.
Yeah.
Or the one time on, I think, What Moves the Dead, where the copy editor, who was fantastic, compiled a dictionary of how the pronouns I had made up worked, and then showed me where I had been using them wrong. Wow. And I was like,
wow.
I'm copying this for my notes, and you're right. Because I had done it, and then they had asked how it worked, and then I explained how it worked, and then they were like, okay, well, here, and here, that's not what you did. And I was like, so I didn't.
Yeah.
I love that copy editor. And then usually that's the end of if you get a sensitivity read, that'll slot in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then the copy editing is usually the final pass. Then you get proofing, where they just send you the whole book as it's going to look published, and you go through and make sure that they didn't do anything really weird at random points. I have been known to just scan a few pages of proofreading and check a couple of things to make sure they went in, and then just be like, yeah, it's fine, instead of carefully reading the entire book for the nth time. Mm-hmm. Don't tell anyone I do that. And,
no, just our listeners.
Yes. And then it's done. Then it's a book. Then it's not your problem.
Yeah. Until
it comes out, 6 months later or whatever.
But I will say, I think
plastic away from the cat.
I think one of the most disheartening, that's the word I'm looking for. one of the most disheartening feelings I've had is when you turn in the book and you've done an edit pass, and instead of great, thanks, it's going to copy editor, it comes back to you. I think that's where I get the I'm doing something wrong, because I've clearly messed up the natural flow of the book, which usually has the book delayed. So like Infinite Archive needed 2 big rewrites, and it was delayed to, I think it was supposed to be December, and then it got pushed to April, and then it got pushed to July. But I think it has landed safely in July. So,
yay!
Yeah. But I think that's one of the things, because clearly they didn't expect me to need another edit. So that's why I feel like I'm the only author in the world to have dealt with this. But I remember we had we had those weird, we went to a very weird bar in Glasgow, and with one of Ursula's editors, and they were telling me about like a author who needed 6 rewrites. Was that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
So really, and then, as long as George R. Martin doesn't turn in his book, none of us looks the worst. So that's good, at least.
Let me point out, moving to Albuquerque, I've been hanging out with a number of people who've known George R. R. Martin since before he was George R. R. Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them say, look, there will never be another book. So just, make your peace, people.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. That's been my thinking. And, it's got to be difficult, because I've thought about, my first book was a superhero book that was released by a small press and did well. It did, for the press, it did very well. And I had like 3 books planned, and the press wasn't interested in another book. And so I thought about self-pubbing, and then, things happened, and I moved on, and I wrote other books. And then I had the Shambling Guide series, which I had like 6 or 7 books planned, and that got cut after 2 books. And people have asked, like, have you thought about self-publishing follow-ups to these books? Because people, if they read them, they loved them. And we just didn't have enough people read them. But
the people who have asked includes me, for the record.
Thank you. The thing is, I've moved on mentally. I'm not. I would have to read very carefully the first books, just to get back in the mind space of continuing the story. And
right.
I wonder if that's happened to him. And also Melanie Ron. Melanie Ron started a trilogy, and I remember.
Yep.
Sorry?
Yep.
Yeah, it's been
yep.
It's been over 20 years now. I remember because
there's not going to be another one.
I was reading the second book in the trilogy when I was visiting Jim's parents in Buffalo in their old house. And they moved 22 years ago. So that's how I know how long it's been. So yeah, that in that book, even if she wanted to, even if she got rid of whatever writer's block was stopping her, she would have to do so much prep work to get back in that mindset to write that book.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Wonder Pope. The cancellation of the Shambling Guide series was one of the great crimes against nature and humanity. Yeah, I had Emperor Norton stuff planned. I had Orlando Mouse God stuff planned. I just long-term thinking.
I wrote Swordheart, which is still my favorite book I've ever written, and I had laid it out planning to have a trilogy, and then, brain freeze, started a book, realized I was writing the 3rd book, not the 2nd book, could not start the 2nd book, then it was then I had to hand in books, then it was the pandemic, and I am finally, and people would ask, are there going to be more? I would be like, yes, there will be more, and secretly I was wondering, are there going to be more? Because I got to go back and do this. And then Tora was like, we will give you money if there are more. And I'm like,
that always helps.
A remarkably good incentive. The money and the editor who will look sad if I don't hand them in. And I started, and it is not quite as it was not miserably hard to get back, but also that was a 4 years, not 20.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest problem I'm having is that Sword Art was just a romp. It was fun and it was funny. And this one has some really dark shit. And I'm like, I need to make this funnier.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, one of the heroes was vivisected repeatedly for 20 years, but he should have a sense of humor about it. And it's
yeah,
need to make it funnier. Yeah.
Well, if anybody can make vivisection funny, it's you.
Aw, that's so sweet.
I think one of the biggest things about editing that you have to remind yourself is that this is when it really does get into the business of writing. Like you've left the craft behind. You're looking at it as a product you want to get out there. And I know there are people out there who hate calling their work content or product or think about it. But if you want to sell the thing you're working on, then the edit pass is where you start thinking on a business level. Even if you think a lot of people are going to hate it and you're just going to be that kind of writer who just writes the thing people hate and then just walks away, you're still thinking about the market. You're just going the other direction. So,
and sometimes you're like, okay, if I say this, maybe I don't want to use this word or whatever. And sometimes it is, the business part is just scheduling. I have to get this shit done by X.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to come out and I'm going to get paid or something like that. Like scheduling is what starts to happen during edits usually. Scheduling happens before because you have to hand it in, but on edits, you get really down to that we need this by October X, or we need this by, November 19th. Not that I have rough reading passes to do for a couple books by November 19th.
But well, if you guys have any questions in the chat, now's the time to ask. Want to welcome Fusspot, first time chat. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. Little while ago, the kids are asleep said, the worst edits are the ones where you don't know how to apply quickly and easily, especially insert this stuff throughout. And I'm like, but where? Yeah, that's the problem I had with like just general comments like these motives are weak. I'm like, well, if the motive's weak, I have to rewrite a lot of stuff. Valerie says, I'm in edits right now and I feel bad for my editor because she'll have a couple of pages of specific comments and I'll send back something with red on every page because you have to cut words to keep it under word count. The funny thing is I write too short, so my edits are always longer. And considering I am bad with description, that's usually a good thing since I can actually put some stuff in there that people may be able to visualize.
The problem I have had once or twice is that I will have an editor who is like, okay, this thing, who the edit letter will be like, your character just keeps yours is unexpectedly hostile. It's coming off as very hostile or whatever, and then in the line edits, every single point will be like, this is an example of them. This is where they feel like they're hostile or whatever. And I will have fixed it already or I will have changed the thing. And okay, the hostile was a bad example. We need an explanation for this. And then every single time that there is the point that you fixed back in chapter 1, but in chapter 40, there is still this is another example of why we need to introduce that earlier. It's like, I did that already. Quit harping on it. They're not harping on it. it makes sense when they're writing it. It's just once you've already fixed it, it feels like a hammer to the forebrain every time.
Yeah, I've had that.
Yes.
So I am curious, Ursula. I'm going to take the discussion in another direction because November is looming, and I'm curious if you're thinking about doing anything community or writing focused to replace NaNoWriMo.
Nope. I am going to, in so much as I have to finish this book in November, yes, I will be doing that, and I will probably be bitching about it on Blue Sky, but that's as far as I go. I've done NaNoWriMo in the past. I have published my NaNoWriMo book. Clockwork Boys was the first year I did NaNoWriMo.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this time I'm just in the grim business part of deadline X is here, deadline Y is here, deadline Z is here, must hit all deadlines, and also arrange to have the carpet ripped out and a bed frame delivered.
Yes, you're also managing households on either end of the country. I'm going to be going to For the Words and participating in their adventures. If anybody wants to join me over there, go ahead and friend me. Would love to talk about it. I don't know how many people in our community are into it. But can anybody remind me what... Oh, crap. Some other people were talking about another just word tracking place they were going to. If anybody in the Discord can remember, I'd appreciate a reminder. It just makes me sad because I really did love... I mean, I very rarely succeed. Okay, I succeeded once in like the last 15 years or so, but it just makes me sad that feeling of looking forward to something and then camaraderie and all that, it's not going to be there, and it makes me sad. So, and it looks like we have another ad, or it said there was another ad, but I don't see it. Lies. And if you guys in the chat or listening later on want to tell me what you're going to be, if you're doing anything different in November than to replace NaNoWriMo, let me know. I will have The Kids Are Asleep on I Should Be Writing sometime in the next 2 weeks. It might actually be a special stream because I've got a guest set up for this Thursday. But we're going to be talking about NaNoWriMo in November and stuff like that. So we'll let people know when that's going to happen. Also need to fit in with...
And on the editing front...
Yep.
Oh, sorry. On the editing front, I was going to say, if you have had experiences with edits that have been completely different than what we have described, I'm sure we would love to hear them, because, I am always interested in... It doesn't have to be a terrible horror story, although if you've got a really good horror story, I mean, who doesn't love those? I am perfectly willing to have you send in a description of your edit horror story, and I will listen and go, that is terrible, and they should not have done that to you. Oh, dear God.
When I said I was very literal...
I guess we're going from good cop to sympathetic cop instead of for...
Yeah. I said I was very literal, but I had a copy editor one time that was so literal, it was just painful. But we can talk about that in like a minute and a half, because we've got an ad now. So we can talk about other things, or not very interesting things. Like, what's not interesting, Ursula?
Flooring. Bed frames, man. Why is bed frame delivery like such a thing?
I don't know.
Is
this not something you can get from IKEA?
No, I mean, I know the one I want. I know where it is. It's just somebody has to be there to open the door, and it's much easier if the carpeting has been taken out first and the new flooring put in, so that we don't have to move the bed frame ourselves. And then you don't want to get the mattress delivered before the frame, or else you're dragging the mattress around through the house.
Right.
And
okay.
Yeah,
we got the note that the ads are done. Those of you who missed it because of ads, we have been talking about boring things like bed frames. We specifically went there for you. But yeah, I had a very, very literal copy editor. Like any sort of hyperbole you would say, she'd be like, that can't happen. And of course now all the things, all the examples are leaving my head. But
like,
go ahead.
I'm trying to remember some of the ones that you ranted about to me, and because some of them were amazing.
Yeah.
It was like, you would say he really shot himself in the foot, and you'd get like, query, did he actually shoot himself in the foot?
This character has not had a gun this whole book. And if they have a gun, you need to establish it earlier on. Yes, exactly like that. And sometimes we've had friends, I won't say who, to say, keep everybody safe and friendly here. But we've had friends talk about edits where they would deny that something would happen. Like they would deny that these cousins would fight or be rude to each other, or somebody not knowing that if you leave a child or a pet in the car in the South, they will die. And I'm not even exaggerating. It is a very bad thing. They have public service messages about it all the time. Just don't leave your kid in the...
You get charged with manslaughter and child endangerment.
Yeah, you basically...
At least child endangerment if you're lucky and somebody breaks the window. Yeah.
Yeah, I had I scrambled the Harris Teeter employees because I found a dog in a car and it was like 80 degrees outside. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but it can get a car hot. But somebody was saying I was being too hyperbolic. That's the way to say that. Because I was talking about the death trap in the car and when it was closed. And I'm like, nope, that is not an exaggeration at all. So, let's see.
Yeah, it is a thing.
In chat, Meerkat says, I got into an argument with an editor about the word dichotomous and whether it was too hard or big. Also, hello. Hello, Meerkat. Yeah, having to introduce an editor to a new word, they don't always take kindly to that. I think maybe they think it's a threat to their intelligence or a comment on what you think of them or something. I don't know.
Some of the biggest challenges I've had are in word choice are writing in what doesn't even feel like vernacular. Like if I have a Southern character say Lord willing.
Oh yeah.
That's not like, I am not writing like Mark Twain writing dialogue in Huckleberry Finn. It is a very, very minor, thing. But I have had copy editors before going, do you mean the Lord willing? If the Lord is willing. And I'm like, that is not what I mean.
No. Yeah, I think I had to explain, what is it? God willing and the creek don't rise?
Lord willing and the creek don't rise, yeah.
Lord willing, the creek don't rise. So yeah, I mean, some editors are cool about learning new things. I had to explain I had to explain pod fading to my editor, because there was
what?
Pod fading. It is when you just kind of walk away from a podcast without actually ending it. You don't say, this is my last episode. Thank you all for being with me, blah, blah, blah. You just kind of like, hey, next week we're going to be talking to this person and never podcast again. That's called pod fading. Yes.
Oh, I did not know that. Yep. Yeah. Good phrase.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been going for an hour, and do you have anything else you want to talk about or promote, Ursula?
Not really, I don't think. My latest book is Sorceress Comes to Call. Still, you can still buy it. It still exists as a real book. It will hopefully continue to do so for the foreseeable future. And I will have more books out next year and the year after that. And I just have to finish writing them. I'm very bad at self-promotion. Sorceress Comes to Call, most recent book. Regency horror fantasy fairy tale retelling. It's cool. And yeah, that's all I got.
Oh, I didn't tell you, at World Fantasy Con, one of the perks, which I totally forgot about because I haven't been that many times, is you get a big bag of publisher donated books. And these are not like retainers. These are not leftovers. This is new stuff. And I got my bag, and, you know, my husband and I are looking at it going, well, we got the budget airline that charges like $60 for a checked bag, and we're not sure what we're going to do with all these. So after a little while, I decided, sorry, I'm just going to put them all on the free book table, because not every bag gets the same book. So there's a big trading thing going on. And since I already have Sorceress Comes to Call, which you gave me for my birthday, I put that one down, and it was snatched immediately. So
I'm just thrilled it was in the book, in the book bag. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
It was in the book bag, and I most of the books I put down were snatched, but that one went first. So congrats.
Aw. Also, for the record, people, I took Mur to sushi. I did not, and I think I got you a bottle of booze. I did not.
You did.
Just give her one of my books for her birthday because I am not a dick.
I was not implying that. Yes, but you did hand it to me awkwardly and just be like, "This isn't your present, but here." So
yeah.
I should have mentioned
that. I know.
I
just wanted to be clear.
Yeah. No. Went out to sushi, had a great time, got a bottle of booze. Your husband gave me a pen. It was awesome. So that was great. So promoting myself, the Ophelia Network is my latest book. It is out in print and ebook now. It is Blue's Clues meets 1984, and I wanted to say it's a lot of fun to write, but no, it was hell to write because that was another one I had to rewrite a lot. But, you know, I've heard good things about how people feel when they read it, so I think it's a fun book.
Your sacrifice was worthwhile.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. That's the book that I worked so hard on. I have no sense of its quality. I know that sounds terrible, and I'm really doing a shit job of marketing myself. But since we talk about the business,
so that Mur did not struggle in vain.
Yeah. So, and that is an Audible original. If you have Audible, you can go ahead and get it. So, and my other books are Chaos Terminal is the most recent one. Station Eternity is the first book in the Midsolar Murders, and you can go ahead and pre-order Infinite Archive out this coming July rather, and it's in copy edits now, so it's really happening.
Woohoo!
How do marketing, says Space Valkyries, going to school for marketing. Crystal Breyer enjoyed the Ophelia Network. Thank you very much. Thank you. And yes, Space Valkyries, you have to start, well, you've been marketing, but you have to continue marketing tomorrow because now everybody can get that book in their hands. So check out the books by Valerie Valdez in the chat. Amazing author. Check out the year's best science fiction and fantasy, which has a short story by Space Valkyries in it. So lots of good stuff to read everywhere. And I will see you.
Imagine me flailing, doing a Muppet flail.
Yes. This podcast was produced under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives License. Music provided by Devo Spice, devospice.com.
Ditch Diggers!
This is a free podcast brought to you by the kindness of our patrons. If you would like to also be kind and a patron, go to patreon.com/mightymur.